Panelists are seated. I'm sure that from 6 o'clock when the show started, so now you had a great time, first with the morning news, and then with Ivan Barnes taking us through the headlines for this morning. And then, of course, Naya Chidi taking us through the entertainment segments of the morning show, which we hope would become a very permanent feature of the show. We've seen the comments and all, we know that you're loving it. And so, being Pan African TV, the station that aims to please, yes, we will keep that segment. We are geared up this morning for the newspaper review segment of the show. And I do not have to go over all the newspapers because Ivan has already done that. But I would introduce my guests quickly so that I can move on to introducing our topics for today. This morning, seated and very ready to do justice to the topics are Mr. Awudu Ishak. He's a National Communications Secretary of the PNC. We also have ably representing the NPP, Mr. Adam Sabo Abdul Rahman, I beg your pardon, Alaji. He's former Greater Accra Regional Secretary of the NPP, and he is a member of the National Communication Team. Welcome, sirs.
Thank you.
Great to have you.
Nice having you.
Great to have you. Let's start with our African story, as always, and we are taking that from Tanzania. Would you have that? I want to read a bit of the story if you have it. I think it's on page 5.
Yes,
Sorry.
yeah.
It's on page 5 of the Ghanaian Times. That's where you always find the African stories. This one is Tanzanian opposition denounces election. It says, Tanzania's main opposition presidential candidate, Tundu Lissu, on Thursday declared he would not recognize the election results as key seats fell to the governing party in a vote he said was marred by irregularities. Counting was taking place across Tanzania and its semi-autonomous Zanzibar, which also elects its own presidents and legislatures, where early results show the opposing losing seats in some traditional strongholds. President John Magufuli, who is seeking a second term, has the lead in more than a dozen constituency results announced by the Tanzanian Election Commission. Okay, so it goes on and on and on and on. I just want to read the last bit. It says, what is being presented to the world is a complete fraud. It is not an election. The process was like spitting in the face of democracy, said Lissu, appearing to warn of unrest. Those in power are telling Tanzanians, if you want change, look for it another way, not through the ballot box, he told reporters. The message they are sending is, use force if you can. We won't let you win through democracy. The news agency seems to be reporting. Very unfortunate news coming from a sister country, a sister African country. So let's start with you. What are your impressions?
Thank you. Ama, I think it's a blessing to have you host me this morning. I've just returned from Tamale last night.
Welcome.
I was in Tamale Central trying to help the able parliamentary candidate of the New Patriotic Party, who doubles as the CEO of the Nation Builders Corps, Dr. Ibrahim Anyas. And Ama, just like you know me, frankly speaking, I don't think there's anything that will stop Dr. Anyas from taking Tamale Central. I know Tamale Central very well, and I know the dynamics. The only thing that I can see is that it's like, when you look at it, he's in the lead with regards to parliamentary and presidential votes. He may get more votes than Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, because there are people who have vowed to vote for him, but they will still stick to their NDC. But for him, as a person, they like him and they will vote for him. And I wish him all the best. And let me take the opportunity to say good morning to yourself. My brother here, it's been a while. And I believe now the PNC is putting a thing together. Because it's true, if we should get a third force in this country, I think it will go a long way to help our democratic dispensation. So it has always been my prayer that either the PNC or the CPP or the PPP be able to organize themselves very well and also be a force to be reckoned with. And then my regards to the whole of Tamale Central, I cannot mention the electoral areas. They've been it's been a very wonderful experience that I had. I was on Sagani TV and then a Diamond FM. And I believe, in fact, there's no difference between what we've been experiencing in Accra here and that of Tamale with regards to the media and everything. I think Ghana has actually gone far, and I'm very proud to be a Ghanaian, and especially a Guchegu from Tamale. With the African story, Ama, if you look at it, Tanzania, when I went through, I think that since 1961 or so, yes, the ruling party came to power. They've been in power up to date.
Yes.
And there has never been change of government. But however, I'm not all that comfortable with the stand that the opposition leader has taken. I believe there were, what do you call this, certain rules that were put in place as to how the election should be conducted. And I strongly believe that those rules were adhered to, because if you read the story, he has not been able to point out exactly these are the things that he feels that didn't go right. Or that he's saying that there were some irregularities. But he should have gone further to let us know whether the ballot boxes, whether they were opaque or people tampered with the ballot boxes, or maybe the ballot papers were not well this and that. I think the only thing that he mentioned was that opposition of election observers were not allowed to go to the polling centers. And sometimes you agree with me. Of course, if my party is in an election and I want to observe, I have to go for an accreditation. That normally gives me the opportunity to go to the polling center. But if I go there and I don't have an accreditation, of course, the security in charge, or those who are in charge of that particular station, have every right to keep me at a distance once I am not a member of that polling station. So I don't. He also didn't come out to tell whether they were accredited observers or they were just people who were moving on their own. So I think the story, I mean, there's a lot that we need to unearth from the story so that we can be able to contribute meaningfully to the lesson. But having said that, I think oppression in any form is not the best for Africa, from where we've come from and where we are going. And of course, and it is also a bit surprising that since 1961 up to date, one particular party has been in power consistently. There has not been any interruption of rule. I can't best tell, but I know Tanzania predominantly are Muslim in that, and Zanzibar is an island which is almost a country on its own within Tanzania, which is also found within that particular place. So I believe AU and Tanzania. I think Tanzania is in Central Africa. I stand to be corrected, but I think their geographical location, they are somewhere in Central Africa. So I believe AU and then their sub-regional thing will also go into it. And I believe there are also international observers over there. They also come up with their stories, and I believe it is from there that we can know exactly what is actually happening. You agree with me? Even a cow, when you slaughter, before it died, it will also struggle a bit.
It will shake its body.
Yes, so no opposition leader will just give in just like that, just throw in the towel. He also come up with certain reasons. But having said that, I'm not actually trying to water down whatever stand that the opposition leader has taken. But what is in the newspaper, I don't think he has taken a very good stand. And I don't think he calling for people to reject the results. And then also that from indications, it's like the ruling government is telling them that they can never win an election or power through democracy. So what he's trying to imply is that then they have to put democracy aside and resort to other means. If they
which is what you don't agree with.
Which I
and just by way of correction, it's in East Africa.
It's in East Africa. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So it's right in East Africa. Oh, I see. Yes. Okay.
So I mean, we are you done?
Yes. And in a nutshell, I think it's also a lesson to all of us, especially the rest of African, especially the neighboring countries within Tanzania. I mean, to take a clue from that. And I also urge AU to put their eyes on Tanzania and moving quickly to see how best they can resolve the issue so that both the opposition and the ruling party can come together to make Tanzania continue to strive for the good things that they want for the country.
Absolutely. Well, I will take a break at this point. We have been joined by the Honorable ABA Fuseni, and so we'll take a quick break so that the Honorable can take his seat. Stay with us.
it's incredible! Bang on target!
Welcome back to the newspaper review segment of Good Morning Africa right here on Pan-African TV. We have just been joined by the Honorable A.B. Husseini. Honorable, you're welcome. Good morning.
Thank you very much.
So we are discussing the African, if you could just have a look at us. But Audi Shak, what's your take?
Well, thank you, Ama. Good morning to the cherished viewers of Pan-African TV. And you all know that naturally, I'm sure that I wouldn't have been the one on this seat, but for the fact that my former national chairman and my personal boss is in the constituency gunning to come to Parliament, representing the good people of the Nadelu Kaleo constituency. The campaign has been very spirited, and everybody knows the kind of personality that Bernard Mona is. And I can tell you that irrespective of the fact that the stakes are high in that constituency, Bernard stands in a very pole position of picking that seat for the PNC, especially that we have a party that is seeking to rebuild itself by first and foremost ensuring that we have some roots back in Parliament. And the Nadoli Kaleo constituency is surely one of the seats that the PNC is targeting to win. And I can tell you that Bernard is doing that all that he can.
We actually wish him very well.
He's got
very,
the
very
fullest
well.
support of the party, and he's not relenting. And the reports we get from there indicates that come December 7th, the PNC would pick that particular seat.
Inshallah.
So wherever the Mr. Bernard Mona is, the viewers of Pan-African TV, let's all pray for him. Let's support him in whatever way that we can, so that at the end of the day, we can have such a sharp brain contributing to the discourse in Parliament. Now, Tanzania, I think that we all agree that elections are a very important feature of democracy and good governance, to the extent that the measure of a country's democratic credentials or good governance record, to a very large extent, are sometimes measured by what happens in the process of elections. And so when you have a situation of this sort, where you have disputed elections in a country, you have the opposition coming out to cry foul, then you have cause to worry. Because at this stage in life, I think that the world over, we are seeking to build a democratic dispensation across the world that would ensure that people are free to do the kinds of things that they want to do as human beings. You give people the free choice to determine how they want to be governed, how they want their resources to be managed, and all of that. And we know that the only process by which people can make that choice is through the ballot box. And we preach that all the time. So when the process is skewed, then people have cause to worry. You understand? Especially that, because if you read that particular story, you get to understand that the electoral laws in Tanzania do not give room for people to challenge the presidential election. But you can challenge parliamentary election. What kind of law is that? It's a foregone conclusion. Once the elections management body declares somebody winner of an election, that is so. You have no room to challenge that declaration in any court of law. And I think that some of those things give the opportunity to people to have a certain kind of doubt in the process itself. And so the opposition may have, as it were, a very genuine concern or a very genuine case. But Ama, we have always been told that the worst form of democracy is better than the best of dictatorship or autocracy. You understand? So the people of Tanzania may have issues with the elections. They may have issue with the process. But it may be far better than them, as it were, rescinding into some kind of dictatorship. And I think that that is exactly where Magufuli and the others, those supporting him, may be sending Tanzania to. Because if you have an electoral law that does not allow for people to challenge the possible outcome of an election, you are telling them that they have no contribution to make, they have nothing to do, they should just throw their hands up in despair. And those are some of the things that give opportunity for people to resort to some other unorthodox means of venting their anger or their dissatisfaction with the system.
But it's a very tricky, very slippery slope, isn't it?
Of course.
So on the face of it, no laws have been broken. In fact, what's happening is actually constitutional. So then, are we advocating for people to go against the law?
I am not. But the constitution is made for the people. And actually, the constitution should have been taken into consideration the views of the people. You know that as for a constitution, you go through a lot of consultative process because you want to take along the views of the people, the expectations of the people, and all of that. And I'm sure that, excuse my language, no sane person would want to agree that give unto ourselves a law that does not give us the opportunity to seek an interpretation of that particular law. Because if you say that nobody can challenge an election's results, and I know that I've not, people go to vote, and they have the right to protect that vote and ensure that that vote counts. And so if somebody is trying to subvert their sovereign will, in as far as the election is concerned, but the law as it is now does not give room for that, definitely they would have concerns to want to and so I think that those are some of the things that should be looked at. And to a very large extent, I think that in Africa we are beginning to have a certain problem. We are unable to delineate, as it were, our election management bodies from the seeming control of the state, to the extent that once a particular government is in power, the government seems to be working in tandem with the elections management body, and then the opposition sees that to be a problem. They raise a lot of issues about it, but if the tables turn, we're going to see exactly the same thing. What can we do to instill a certain kind of confidence in the people to believe that we have true independence as far as those put in charge of managing elections, such as our electoral commissions or whatever, the electoral management bodies? We have that level of confidence that would allow for people to accept the way they want to conduct elections and the possible outcome of those elections. Those are some of the things I think that we should begin to be working at to ensure that once we reach that point, irrespective of what happens, people would accept that every outcome of an election is a true reflection of the will of the people and what actually happened at the polls. Until we are able to do that, we may have some of these simmering tensions, which to a very large extent, to me, causes some kind of instability within the system.
Thank you so much. Honorable, opposition leader seems to have a just case in that, you know, and someone alluded to this. For 61 years, it's becoming an autocracy. 61 years since their independence, the same party. Like I was asking Ishak, on the face of it, everything seems to be constitutional, but we all know that, you know, if you have a bad law, that's no law. But isn't the opposition leader calling for the wrong thing? Shouldn't he be rather calling for a repeal of the law, you know, review of the constitution, instead of asking the people to reject? Isn't that a recipe for disaster?
Thank you very much. Let me say a good morning to your good self, my brother Sabo, standing in for Comrade Ben Amona. I wish him well. Of course, your technical people who make Africa fly very, very far. This is the station of the moment. And let me say a good morning to the Brichina people of the Sonargo constituency, who have no match. They have no size. I can tell you, their integrity levels are among the highest you can vouch for in the country. So I salute every one of them. I know that election is a process. And so to judge an election as free, fair, transparent, and credible, we have to evaluate it throughout that process. Even some would want to even go as far back as to even the method and the manner and the caliber of the people appointed to manage the electoral body. Some will even start from there. Look at the processes for opening up registration. is it transparent? Is it free? Is it fair? Is everybody who is qualified under the law allowed to register freely without any hindrance? Before you even come to acceptance of nominations and all those things, to the day of polling, counting of ballots, recording of results, all those are part, an intrinsic part of judging an election as free, fair, and transparent. I was just trying to peruse the report, and one of the allegations the opposition is making is that even their agents were not even allowed to do their monitoring role in the process of the election. And in Africa, one of the ways in which our democracy is shortchanged during the time of elections is to use raw intimidation, sometimes to take away opponents so that nobody comes to see, and then the process becomes opaque. Ballot boxes are stuffed, and in that case, it's no longer an election. So, I without any prejudice against what judgment anybody will make on the Tanzania election, because I wasn't there. But I think that it's important to do a critical evaluation of the processes, like I said, from the very onset. And like we are saying, this is a party, the Chamacha Mapinduzi Party, which was founded by the legendary Nyerere president, Julius Nwalimu Nyerere and others, has been in power for, like you said, 61 years. From 1961. 1961 to now is about 59 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can see this is a truly entrenched party.
Are we not looking at a one-party state?
At the time in the early 60s and the 70s, when one-party systems were the vogue in Africa, the Chamacha Mapinduzi Party was a one-party state, like many other. This is in Africa, until the dawn of the democratic dispensation again, when the opening came. But without doubt, having been a ruling party for that, one party for all those years, and they have the biggest resource base in both the mainland Tanzania and in Zanzibar. You know that it's a co-confederate between Zanzibar and Tanzania. So in both Zanzibar and in mainland Tanzania, they have a very entrenched hold. In fact, many of the things that happen in terms of political largesse and, as it were, resources are in the hands of the ruling party. And so if you have a party that has been in power for 59 years, you know, running against nascent parties, you can already see the huge disadvantage. And so if you have them, by the virtue of appointment of the Electoral Commission and some of the allegations that even they are tied to the ruling party in terms of their affiliation, then it raises very serious questions when elections are actually conducted. And if you were to, if their claims are true that their agents have been prevented from even doing their role in monitoring the pool, then you can begin to see that the election is.
I want to look at this from the posturing of the opposition in an election. As to free and fair, it might tend to be subjective in some instances. You can't always have it being objective. There can't always be an objective test. In some instances, there would be issues that might be subjective. However, what should the posturing of the opposition be? And here I want us to draw lessons. I'm big on drawing lessons. Yes. What should the posturing of the opposition be in such instances?
The posturing should depend on the happenings, the occurrences within the system. To what extent is the electoral management body complying with the basic tenets of free, fair, and transparent elections? For instance, like they are complaining, if their agents have been prevented from being at the polling stations and monitoring the voting procedure, how can that be adjudged to be a free and fair election? Or if there are obstacles deliberately thrown in the way of opposition parties to get their members even registered. You know, even here, come back to Ghana. You remember in the process of the registration, the recently concluded registration exercise, there were some areas, Banda, I can mention so many of them, where even military people were sent to prevent people from registering. Is that the duty of the military? Does the military have the authority to go and prevent Ghanaians from going to register? Is that their duty? So when you get some of these kinds of things happening, they impinge on the degree to which an election can be free, fair, and transparent. Because there are significant numbers of people who may be prevented from registering, who may be prevented from even going to vote on that day. And so if the Tanzania opposition's allegation is correct that their agents were not allowed to participate, how can that be adjudged as a free election?
Okay.
So obviously their posture will be belligerent, and they have to be, because they are reflecting.
Which might have dire consequences for us ultimately.
So,
here I want us to come straight to Ghana.
You see,
Honorable.
yes,
I want us
Ama,
to dovetail into Ghana.
that's what I'm saying, that before you blame the goat, drive away the hyena first. You must chase away the hyena before you blame the goat. So the one who is perpetrating those things that impinge on free and fair elections must take the blame first. Now opposition is reacting to what is happening. If the, like I said, I'm not there. If the allegation is true that their agents were prevented from patronizing the exercise and doing their work, why they should not complain?
Okay.
And if they complain and say that they will not accept that as free and fair, how would that be taken as a belligerent position that is on duty?
It's bordering on peace. That's always
Yes.
where I get. That's where I'm always
Yes.
worried.
So that is what I'm saying.
Because
Ama,
then we might inflame
Ama,
passions.
yes.
I would like to come in.
Let me make my point. Ama. You see,
Honorable, go ahead. Then you can have
I don't know whether
little
it is
say that-
Peter
Yeah,
Tosh.
okay, for us to come back to the.
I don't know whether it
story,
is
but
Peter
let us
Tosh
have a few minutes.
who sang the song that everyone is crying out for peace, but none is crying out for justice. We are just interested in touting that let's have peace, but somebody's actions are preventing and militating against peace. We will not talk about the action that is militating against peace. We are just making a chorus. Let there be peace. Peace is earned. It's not conferred.
Justice first.
Yes, so make sure that the actions that you undertake are legal, legitimate, and proper in the supreme national interest. It's in accord with the democratic principles all of us have accepted for free, fair, and transparent elections. When that is done, there will be peace. It will not naturally flow. If I go through a process that is fair, transparent, and I lose, I will see that it's a transparent process. But if I see that the process has not been fair to me, it is manipulated in such a manner that it must favor somebody even from the very onset. And if you ask me that I should just accept that because for the sake of peace, it will not. So that's why I say peace is not conferred, it's earned. And it is earned through going through a process that engenders confidence among all of us. All of us have accepted that the rules are this. Okay? Let's let everybody who qualifies 18 years and above of sound mind and a Ghanaian go register. I'm 18 years. I'm a Ghanaian. I go to register and you stop me. Are you not an obstacle to the peace that we are all talking about?
You are.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So we should begin to interrogate those impediments or manipulations that are done that obfuscate a transparent, free, and fair election. So the real people who are anti-peace are the people who are perpetrating those kinds of things. So if you prevent members of the opposition from patronizing the police station, how are they going to monitor the polls and be sure that those who are qualified to vote are voting? And that we are not even tearing 10 ballot papers and giving to one person to go and dump in the ballot box.
Absolutely. I mean,
exactly.
that makes,
exactly.
Absolutely.
So the process must be open. And that's why we say it should be transparent. Because transparency means that you don't hide anything. Anybody who has a role to play is freely allowed to play that role. So that at the end of the process, when we have voted, counted the results, collated, and declared the results, everybody will be appeased that look, this is a process we should not challenge because we have gone through the mill and everything has been done in a very orderly manner.
Absolutely. I want just 1 minute and we can come to Ghana.
Just small. He kept on saying that their agents, when their agents were not allowed, there's in the story there's nothing like that.
Oh, there is.
No. Let me.
Please.
Oh, you
Have
can
you read
go
the story?
Yeah.
Let me show you.
You can go through the story, please.
Page 5.
You let me make my point. You can go through
you
it.
said
The
that
story.
I want to
It's
go
not, maybe if you had allowed me to go through, you realize that you've made a mistake.
Please go
it's
ahead.
It's not their agents. They said that they are observers.
Observers.
And not there's difference between agents and observers.
How do you define an agent of a party? If a party sends an observer, it's the agent of the party.
Listen, no. There's vast difference between agents and observers. Agents are the official what they call representatives of the party at the polling station to make sure that everything is adhered to as agreed at IPAC. or by electoral commission, stipulated by electoral commission for the process of the electional decision. Observers are just, some are even members of the party, some are just individuals like yourself, I mean, who have gone to get accreditation to be allowed to go and they see how the process is being done, and they can make their independent report on what they have seen. So there's vast difference between agents and observers.
I want you to read this.
I'm coming.
Read this, please. No, let her read it to settle the matter.
Honorable, I'll read it.
Yeah.
Just
it will settle the matter.
that's whatever happened yesterday was not an election, and thus we do not recognize it. We do not accept the result. Leso told reporters, saying opposition election monitors had been banned entering polling stations.
Please. This is English. Election monitor. There's no difference between observers and monitors.
Who tells you that?
There's no difference.
If you have an agent, what does an agent do? The agent monitors the election.
Please.
Monitors.
Let me look. I am making my point. You can tell me. I kept quiet when you were making. I think I've been given the opportunity. Let me tell you.
No.
When you say an agent, you giving the right to somebody to represent you. Even in the please. This is simple English. No, it's not even about semantics. It's very clear. When you go and look at the content of agent in the English dictionary, it's quite different from
what's that?
Please. Don't let us. In fact, there are so many people watching us. There are people who are even proficient in the English language than us here watching us, and we need not to. No. This is the way we have started. It's not even. This has nothing even to do with semantics. This is very clear. An agent is an official representative of a body, which by law, in fact, you can be taken on by the person acting, but an observer. I can be an monitor. Yes. If you are monitoring, that's what I'm saying. Monitoring and observation. There's no vast difference between monitoring and observation. Monitoring simply means that you come and then see how the process is going, but you may not have the right to actually complain or even interrupt the process. But an agent has the right to raise a red flag at a point in time, but a monitor has no right to raise any red flag there. An agent is seen as a true representative of the party, but a monitor cannot be seen. I can even go. No.
So I want us to move ahead.
And I'm saying that you have an Android phone. If you want to disgrace me by reading the news of the monitor, read the news of an agent, and disgrace me here.
An agent monitors.
No.
Okay.
So and then secondly,
it's a good point.
He tried to make a point that me, as an indigenous Ghanaian, and a proud one, of course, will at any point in time defend the territorial boundaries of this country. So if you say for the sake of election, you go to bring a non-Ghanaian, and you keep on insisting that a Ghanaian of 18 and of sound mind and coming to register, and you say he should not register, if indeed that person is not a Ghanaian, I don't see the reason why that person should come and put his name in our on our register. We saw videos on social media, people being interrogated, and they were even mentioning names who brought them into this country. They were speaking languages that some of us cannot even understand. And we'll still sit here. Where was that? Social media.
Where was that?
Open.
What was that?
I said,
I just gave you an example of Banda.
Please.
Where you said that the people from the Banda region are not Ghanaian.
This
is incredible.
Anytime I'm making your delivery, I'm so quiet. But I don't know why when I'm making my delivery, you not allow me.
So I spent a lot of time on this issue.
So this
time to move on.
I agree too. So I think it is good that sometimes when we are making play, because even this just reminds me, there's another member of parliament in the north who went around saying that tin number is a very bad thing, and the people should never go in for tin number. When they go in for tin number and they even die, they even come to their graves, and then tax them.
We can't have this conversation because these facts are unknown to the rest of us on the table.
If you want to give me the video,
we cannot have this conversation.
It's a video. It's a known member of what do you call him? Alasan Suhini.
And then
lastly, I think my brother Ishak also was making a point that what they call it, a law that does not allow the presidential election to be challenged is something. You see, is it like in football? when the match is ongoing, and then you observe an irregularities, you have no right to stop the match, but you have the right to go to the match commissioner to lodge your complaint. Then after the match, they'll go into the matter and then see, and then of course. So I believe that I don't think the law is just naked as to after the election you can never challenge the president. No, I'm coming. You can never challenge the president. I'm coming. I'm making a point. You can never challenge the presidential election. How are you getting me? You can never enter into a condition or into a situation when there are no conditions or when there are no rules guarding it for you to know that whether indeed. So
you think that there will definitely be?
No, what I mean is that maybe it is the interpretation of the law that maybe we are not getting it right. But I don't think that an election that is a straitjacket, whether you like it or not, whatever happens, even if they use gun, they stop people from even voting, and at the end of the day, they just come and declare this person has won. You have nothing to say. I don't think.
So again, we are back to assumptions. We are back to assumptions. Let's hold on.
I don't understand why my big brother appears to be the one defending.
It's because he's here representing a party in office.
The opposition has
so I think that's
because maybe they take. No. You see, if you are going to talk about that, maybe people used to this in 1992. You see what the law says that you used to play. You could not even know who was voting.
Not the presidential elections, and the opposition is in disagreement with that law. It's part of the reasons for which the opposition presidential candidate is saying that his people should not accept the result because they
then I think the best thing that ought to have been done is that they should have even gone into the election by saying that if this law is not repealed, then there's no need for them to go into the election.
Then we can move on.
They saw the law and went into the election.
Do you think that this is good law? Do you think that it's good?
No, that's what I'm saying. If there's any law, I don't even think that there's a law like that exists. That is my side of the story. I am saying that there's not even such law.
It's not about what you think.
That you can
about what it is.
Please.
Once we've agreed on the that it's bad law, we can move on.
Let's move on. Do you have the decision here that you can put from their the constitutional decision that this is how the law states?
Let's move on. Let's come to Ghana.
No.
Gentlemen, we are in Ghana.
The is about what I think. What you think that
we are in Ghana.
Is not the law.
They intend to perpetrate searches.
Honorable, let's come to Ghana. We are in Ghana. EC lodges complaints against disqualified presidential aspirants. CID ready to grill them over alleged forgery. The Criminal Investigations Department, CID, of the Ghana Police Service has received official complaints from the EC to conduct probe into alleged forgery against the 5 disqualified presidential aspirants for the December 7, 2020 elections. According to the EC, those whose matters border on fake voters register and fake signatories on the nomination forms have been referred to the CID for further actions. The 5 are Kofi Quantin and Maris Kofi Jani, both independent candidates. Akwesi Adai Odike of United Progress Party, Kwesi Busumbrum of People's Action Party, and Nana Ejenin Boateng of United Front Party. The Director General of the CID, Commissioner of Police, Isaac Ken Yeboah, confirmed a receipt of a letter from the EC to that action to the Ghanaian Times in Accra yesterday, but did not give further details. Out of the 17 presidential aspirants who presented their nomination forms to the Electoral Commission, 5 have been disqualified to contest this year's presidential election on grounds of presenting unqualified registered voters. Now, this is very interesting. So not only have we disqualified them, now we intend to prosecute them. Let me start with you, Honorable.
Yeah, let me say a very good morning to my brother Ken Yeboah, the CID boss. He said, I worked with him in the northern region when I was a deputy minister. He's a very fine police officer. I just hope that where he is now, they will give him the latitude and the freedom. Because we know what they have done to his predecessors before, where they have to force them to take certain positions, which is at variance with their professional conduct and integrity. I'm sure you can remember the discussions that A+ had with Madam Tiwa and all those things that came up. Very terrible for a police officer. I hope they will give Ken Yeboah the chance to do his work dispassionately. Yes, I think the laws of this country are clear. Any act of forgery, if it is actually proven to be an act of forgery, it's a criminal act. And so if the allegations against the 5 of them that they sat down and forged some names and others which are not there, I think the law must be allowed to take its course. But I'm also seeing that the Electoral Commission itself, under Madam Jean Mensah and Bosman, issued identity cards to people and later on turned and said that the process was flawed. You remember, even not being a person, the general secretary of my party, General Asedun Ketia, even after we had filled the form, the forms for His Excellency President Mahama, by the grace of Allah Almighty, the incoming president, when the forms were filled and they took the decision to the Electoral Commission, they had to come back again and say no, the cards for a number of them had not been properly done, and that it was the Electoral Commission's own fault and machinations. So how did they arrive at the conclusion that the cards that they did for them, number one, were fraudulent? Who did the cards? Was it not the Electoral Commission? That the people who went to the police station, killed like any other Ghanaian, got to the tent, they registered, they were given the card. When did it become fraudulent? And so if today you are prosecuting people for alleged acts of forgery, is the Electoral Commission itself not complicit?
He who comes to work with him must come with clean
Exactly.
hands, you are saying.
Exactly. They are sacking you in the evening, you are greeting good night. Where is the clean hands of the Electoral Commission itself? And so if you are referring people for prosecution, what about yourself? You are equally guilty and complicit in those acts. So where is your moral grandstanding in seeking to refer people to the decision? And number two, I would have expected first and foremost that the Electoral Commission would have had a sitting with the various presidential candidates at the time they did the filing. Because you see, Ama, the Electoral Commission's rule is not to find people guilty. The Electoral Commission rule, fundamental rule, is to help people comply with the basic democratic tenets and principles. So if a presidential candidate is filing a nomination and it is wrong, or they are said, you get the person to come and sit with you, let's go through this one. This one is not correct. Can you change this? Your thing is not to just wait like a prosecutor. Let them finish the thing. They say, hey, you are a thief. I've caught you here. That is not the work of the... And that betrays the understanding and competence of this Electoral Commission. It tells you that they are not up to the job. They were just drafted to come and do some job. But otherwise, look at from the time of Dr. Farijan through to Charlotte Osei. When you fill your forms and others, even as candidates, we all sit with the Electoral Commission, even at the parliamentary level. You sit with them, they'll take you through. Okay, this one, in which police station? They'll go through. No, but you didn't get this one right. Maybe you have 2 days left. Is it possible to go and rectify it? That is the duty of the Electoral Commission. Is to help political parties comply with the rules and regulations and principles of the commission and of the electoral laws and regulations that we have in this country. So you don't get as if you go and hide somebody, you are waiting for them, they bring that, they say, you have caught you here for forgery. How is that done? Unless it betrays your intent to do that. And so for me, I don't dispute the fact that if anybody is complicit in any act that breaches the law, the person should be allowed to get away. Fine.
I mean, especially a political party that seeks to rule or govern a nation, one would expect a certain level of integrity.
Sure. So I'm saying that one, nobody can argue with it. If you engage in deliberate act of forgery or something, the law must be allowed to take its course. But the Electoral Commission also has a responsibility. And part of that responsibility, like I said, we would not have gotten even to this. That from day one, they would have even discovered that, look, this and this and this is happening. In the interest of growing our democracy and others, go back and do the right thing. If at the close of nomination, they still bring back something that is fraudulent and that is the product of forgery, why not? But you would have given them a chance. I'm taking inspiration from the ruling of the Electronic Communication Tribunal in the matter of the closure of radio stations. The learned justice and one of the great lawyer judges in this country, the retired Supreme Court Judge Datiba, Datiba said that, look, when people are, you are a regulator and people fall foul of your regulation, or they have not met the standard of your regulation, you give them the opportunity to right the wrong. Your first decision is not to go and take a hammer and crash their head.
You are not a prosecuting body.
Okay, so what you do is that you go with them with the regulations, give them the opportunity to right the wrongs, to be able to fulfill the inadequacies, so that you can get them to be compliant with the law. Rather than go and take a sledgehammer and crash them at the very instance, the very first instance you are interested in crashing them. Then your work as an electoral body or regulator is not to help those political parties. It's not to help grow our democracy. You are interested in crashing some group of people, and it may be that even there are people you have selected to deal with. Even the rest of the people that you said they have passed, do we have confidence that even some of the smaller other parties and others, they complied 100% with the provisions?
Absolutely.
We are not in position to know.
Absolutely.
Some of them could be your friends. You pass them. Okay. So how are you going to grow democracy with this kind of mindset? And so I'm saying that even if they, the Electoral Commission, were guilty of the same offense for which they are referring people for prosecution, what happens to they themselves?
Thank you, Honorable. Valid points to make.
You say you abhor pork as a Muslim, but you relish pork soup. Someone will not say that.
Let me come to you. Honorable is raising a very valid issue of mandate.
Yes.
The mandate of the Electoral Commission, and whether the Electoral Commission's mandate is for prosecution or is for overriding, responsibilities, like an arbiter, sort of. My issue here really would be about the determination. How was it determined that these people forged and these other people did not forge? That, for me, it would have been very instructive if that information was made public.
Thank you, Ama. I think there's this account saying that what could that so to a jam for no what more money so for. So I believe it would have been in the right context that he put it, but unfortunately his presidential candidate didn't go there himself to submit the form. So if what he's asking for was supposed to be done, how could he have been gotten to be taken through?
There's no provision that.
No. You are the one calling for
There's
that.
an
That no. Oh, please.
Right.
I am just actually coming into your comfort zone, so you just allow me to come there. You are the one saying that it is a duty of the Electoral Commission to sit face to face with the candidates, even parliamentary candidates, to make sure that they go through their nomination form and then thoroughly guide them as to what to do. If there are some irregularities, then they will ask them and then give them some time to go and I said, well, that is nice. So how come you couldn't advise your presidential candidate to go there himself to do this?
He didn't have to.
So if it had turned out that there were some irregularities in the presidential candidate's nomination form, the same people who have come here to sit down and say that it's a witch hunting, the Electoral Commission is in bed with MPP and the rest. So sometimes I don't get it. So if we want to be principled, then I think we should go all out, regardless of whoever it affects. Yeah, I wouldn't have problem with what he's saying, but nonetheless, also having been a teacher, I'm also aware that when you are to set exams for people, before the exams, you will have taken them through all the rules and regulations governing the exam paper. So on the D-Day, it is not your duty again to come round and be telling them how to answer the questions and other things. There have been several engagements with these political parties before the filing of the nominations. So I don't see where it has become the duty of the Electoral Commission.
For you, how you answer the question is part of the examination.
Exactly. I don't know where you are getting me. Oh yes. Once on the examination day, you come to tell them how to answer the question, then it goes against the rules of the exams itself. So I don't get what he was trying to bring to bear. But having said that, in fact, I am saddened and highly alarmed. The kind of process that we normally even take our candidates through to confirm them, to allow them to run for elections. Because I am saying this because had it been because of these forms that has actually exposed these bad conduct of the candidates involved, then it means that if they had sailed through and even finally get to what do you call it, the seat of authority, only God knows what would have happened to this country. So my question is there a kind of system or mechanism that if me, Adam Sabo Abdurrahman, comes out to say that I want to run for presidential distance, that maybe our security agencies will go into my archives and try to know who really I am, what has been my conduct in the past. I mean, these things, I think we need to thoroughly investigate the background of people who seek for leadership positions in this country. Or else one day we will just hand over this country to a hyena. And by the break of day, all of us are divorced.
That's what we have done already.
How did I get him? Oh yes, I'm not surprised. We've done it before. Because a hyena like Don Dramani Mahama coming back, I don't know. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like Don Dramani Mahama, you are reminding me. Thank you for even letting me mention his name. So I think this one is a blessing in disguise. That at the early stages of this thing, we've been able to identify this thing. And I think, like my elder brother said, this is a purely criminal case. And I don't think they should be treated with any kid gloves. They should be treated squarely within the ambit of the law to deter others, the likes of me and others, from ever venturing into this kind of this thing. You agree with me? Even me, if I say I want to even stand for assembly election, even within an electoral area, with my credibility, I can get more than 100 people endorsing me. And you want to stand for presidential this thing and common endorsement, you cannot find people to endorse you. So who are the people
we haven't determined how.
That's
for me. I'm saying it would have been.
I am making my submission on the surface of the story. So you cannot tell me that. Please. Have I confirmed? I'm not pronouncing that.
That's what you have just done.
Please.
That's what you have just done.
Please.
Not, we are not
you see, no. I don't know. I think because if I will be interjecting, in fact, when you made this submission, I didn't even clear my throat.
Yeah, but you should be fair.
But any time I'm making my submission, no, you said things that I'm not comfortable with, but I've allowed you to go through. But when you do this, and you are my big brother, I beg you. You see, what I'm saying is that if indeed this story turns out to be true, then I don't think even the processes that we normally go through to even confirm people to run for certain positions are the best. Because I believe maybe if further investigation is conducted on these people, there are certain things that can be unearthed that they've been involved in the past. And even during this particular decision, or their intent of actually coming in for this particular contest.
So you're asking for more backdoor investigation.
Backdoor, and even not them alone.
And security clearance.
Not only the three. It should also open window for the rest to also be thoroughly investigated again before we proceed.
Thank you. But that be your last.
Yes. But let me just tie it to this particular lesson. You see, he was saying something like that. What do you call it? That people seeking for what do you call it? Public offices and the rest must be clean, and they must be, truthful and then sincere to the people. And I believe, yes, that is what I want. That is why initially I brought the story of the Tamale North Member of Parliament story, Sohini.
We are back here again.
Oh no, yes, in fact, look, my left and right, I'm 100% Dogomba. So at any point in time, look down upon my people, it actually pierces through my heart.
But you see, sir, but the difficulty is that the facts are only known to you on this table.
Pardon?
So the rest of us cannot have
that. Oh no! I
do not
listen.
know.
I am the one making the submission, not Pan-African TV.
I appreciate that.
And I'm on screen. And if I'm lying, of course, the laws can also come after me.
So
he's
next week, when you've made this
evidence available to everybody, telling them not to actually God, he was putting in this contest that I am not saying that you shouldn't go for the team number, but this is what the team number will do to you when you go for it. But it's not unfortunate that the likes of me were not around. I would have liked to ask him a straightforward question: whether he himself has a team number.
I really would appreciate if you make this video available to the rest of us, so that.
In fact, I'll make it available before I leave this place.
Yes. The next week on the show, we can have
something that I think the guys should come
conversation
out
about.
And apologize to the full of Dagbon for actually assembling the sons and daughters of Dagbon to be telling them this.
Thank you, Sabo. Let's move on to our research. Let's honorable. Don't come.
Number one. You don't even know the context within which he spoke.
Why?
Let's not make this a conversation.
The context within which he spoke. Projecting something that people here are not privy to. And you are using the platform of Pan-Africa
in the Bani language.
He has a stake in what we say here. You can't just come and say.
But let's not
you
have
can
this
say anything here.
Let's allow
just for political power, you normally
Look at I'm amazed. Look at one who said that when they talk to Dagomba, he's upset. The plethora of lies, naked lies, your party went and told to Dagomba. You are not
what lies? Mention it. Mention it.
The fake.
Mention it.
One village, one dam. You went round the place.
Is it not there? Are they not there?
And no, they are not there. They are not downstairs.
Don't let me come
to the people.
Your constituency.
You are lying to the people.
Your constituency. If I went to the constituency, I don't know what will have happened. Your constituency.
You just went there and lied.
Even the district, the in front of the district assembly. It's not hard. The road in front of the district assembly is not hard.
We have been in power for 4 years. What happened to that road? The road was being quartered under us 4 years. They have not done a single thing.
Your place.
Tell him. And my question is:
the people in Sandal, they were suffering.
Sandal, we have had 2 elections. 2012, 2016. They haven't won one police station in my constituency. One single police station. MPP hasn't won. All the things you are talking, you have not done anything.
You've been deceiving the people. You've been telling them lies.
They are calling the Sandal people that they are
telling them lies. Yes.
For 2 years, for 2 consecutive elections, you can't win one police station.
No. I am not taking my politics back.
They are 10 times more intelligent than you sitting here.
I've been to Tamale and what I've seen.
I would Ishak, if you mind.
They are more intelligent than you
I want
sitting
you
here.
to deal with this issue.
No, I'm not coming into
their intelligence.
I am not giving my politics back home.
Sabo, would you please allow?
You don't go and throw money that you think you will do.
Honorable. I would do Ishak. Please go ahead.
Excuse me.
I think you need ultimate drinking natural mineral water to calm down this morning. Please, my producers, get them ultimate mineral water to drink.
I feel rather sorry for my friends in the other parties, as well as the individual independent candidates who got disqualified. Especially that I was personally involved in filling the forms on behalf of my presidential candidate, Honorable David Apasara. And I know what is involved, the process, the rigorous process that you would have to go through. I can tell you that for 2 days running, with the support of some other colleagues of mine at our headquarters, we had to virtually sleep at the office.
Wow.
Yes, to ensure that we did a very thorough job in order to scale this particular hurdle of meeting the requirements and filling the forms as stipulated within the confines of the law. And so I understand what it means. And for me, that notwithstanding, it's as a result of the fact that we are aware of the fact that anything short of this could result in us being disqualified, and probably would also mean that we have engaged in some kind of criminality or something like that, or forgery.
Sorry to catch you, but just so that viewers will appreciate this and understand this better, what's the duration? How long do you have for picking the form and getting the signatures?
I think that the Electoral Commission gave a 5-day window.
5 days?
Yes, it was from the 4th to the 9th of November.
Okay.
4th to the submission of the forms was from the 4th to the 9th of November. But I think that the nominations had been open for a much longer period, within which you could go around and fill the forms. But they started receiving the forms within a 5-day period. But the day that they set for people to start downloading the forms, I think that it was much longer. I can't immediately recollect, but it was a much longer period. Now, when we submitted our form, obviously when we submitted our form, I would attest to the magnanimity of the Electoral Commission here. Because when we submitted our form, like Honorable Sabo and Honorable ABA talked about, the Electoral Commission detected some anomalies on the form. They called us back to come and take the forms and ensure that we, as it were, correct those anomalies and bring it back.
Okay.
And it was done to some other parties that I know. My friends from the CPP, my friends from so many other political parties, because we all met at the EC headquarters, where people were called back to come and look at their forms, correct certain anomalies, and resubmit the forms. So that opportunity was given by the EC. Okay. It was not just so rigid that once you submitted the forms and these anomalies were detected, you had no opportunity of correcting the forms. What I would rather
Sorry, I keep cutting you because I want to understand. I'm sure the viewers want to appreciate this also. So how was this determination made? For instance, if it's about signatures, how were you informed that these signatures are fake? How did the EC explain that they had made that determination?
Well, honestly, for our part, the EC never pointed to any fake signature on our forms. It's got to do with wrong polling station codes, or a wrong, yes, I think basically the polling station code. But the EC...
even just come in here to help. You see, like the way he was just explaining, like if this police, every police station has a code.
Yeah.
So if you go and bring somebody's name from a different police station as this particular police station, it is so easy for him to be able to know
Exactly.
that this person is not actually from this police
Because the
station.
EC
And
has
that's where the fake
has a coding system. If for every district in the eastern region, the code it starts with E.
Yeah, exactly.
You understand? If you go to northern region, it also starts with a different alphabet. So once you quote a polling station in the eastern region, and the code does not start with an E, immediately the EC would know that this is wrong.
This is the wrong code.
This is the wrong code.
Okay.
Because then it will narrow down to the district. So the districts also have unique codes. But the district code is determined alongside the regional code. So once the regional code is wrong, it tells you that the district code probably would equally be wrong. So the EC had to take us through that. But what I want to advocate for is that the Electoral Commission should have done all of this ahead of time. An orientation should have been organized for key officials of the political parties, so that even before we download the forms and begin to fill them, we would have also, as it were, gone ahead to also educate and sensitize our officials at the regional and then the constituency level on some of these things. You understand? Because these signatories are supposed to be collated from the constituencies, because the Electoral Commission deals with districts. But you know that political parties don't have district officers. You have constituency officers. So the constituency officers within those particular districts are the ones to collate these signatories and then forward to the region, who would also do a certain kind of assessment of it before it is forwarded probably to the national for a final assessment and then presentation to the Electoral Commission. But that was not done. You understand? And so, and the other problem that we also faced, Ama, which Honorable talked about, was the fact that we were filing our nominations premised on a provisional voters register.
Okay.
It is within the law. It is right. Within the law, it is allowed. The CI governing the elections, our elections now, it is allowed for the Electoral Commission to receive nominations based on the provisional register. But we are looking at the attendant consequences, because there have been instances where people fill the form. They quote their ID, their polling station codes and everything correctly. But the Electoral Commission gave us soft copies of the provisional register. Then we were working with those soft copies in the office. Now you try to match the code with what is on the register, and you cannot find that name anywhere. Meanwhile, the fellow has his or her voter ID card. You see the polling station code on it. But you go into the EC system, you can't find it. So in that instance, it means that you have to look for a different person altogether within that district to replace the earlier person who had filed.
Are these issues that you brought to the attention of the EC?
Of course, when we went to file our nomination, our presidential candidate, if you had a reporter there, our presidential candidate spoke the way I am speaking. He told the Electoral Commission that this was the challenge that we faced as a party. And earlier on, I think that it was the same challenge that Honorable Johnson Asiri Nketia wanted to put across. And he had that kind of banter with the Electoral Commission officers when he was filing the NDC's nominations on behalf of John Dramani Mahama. You understand? And so there was a difficulty there in terms of using the provision, because once you say it is provisional, you are agreeing that there may be some anomalies within the register. That is why it's not final. So it means a final one would come. There may be exclusions, there may be inclusions. So it is possible that some of those names that would be excluded were people who would have endorsed the forms of some presidential candidates. And so what it means is that they had problems with their registrations, but they have endorsed. So the parties went through, we personally went through that difficulty. Wow. There were a number of names that we had to quickly replace before submitting, because we had to cross-check all those who endorsed our form with what the EC had given us on our
and these are not
system.
mistakes that
They are not mistakes.
You were solely responsible.
No. We were not responsible for it. But the person is registered. He or she has been given a card. But like Honorable ABA said, you remember that at a point in time, the Electoral Commission itself, they called back certain ID cards, agreeing that there were problems with their registration process. But all of those names had already been included in the provisional register. So it's not something that is in doubt. But we did not have the opportunity of knowing that this particular name was part of those names that are the problem, because we were provided the register by the EC. So that was the difficulty that we went through. And so it may be within the law that yes, we can receive nominations on a provisional register. But does it augur well? Does it allow for the political parties to have the luxury of time of doing things that to a very large extent will not challenge them?
So that's a conversation we should be having.
Exactly.
So with these practical difficulties that are not the fault of the political parties, would you say that in this specific instance, the EC has the moral justification to go ahead to now prosecute?
Well, that's
for me a very important question.
On that score, Ama, on that score, the EC has, as it were, reported the matter to the CID. The CID is taking up the matter. We are also aware that some of the disqualified candidates have already even gone to court to challenge the decision by the EC to disqualify them, and they would have, as it were, that element of the burden of proof on the Electoral Commission. So if part of the reasons for which some of these political parties have been disqualified is as a result of the fact that they ask people to file nominations on the provisional register, which in itself have people who are not qualified to be within the register, but you submitted that register to political party. The political party used some of those names to file their nominations and you are disqualifying them. I think that the court would have the opportunity to prove whether the Electoral Commission is right or the political parties are right.
Absolutely. I'm okay. Let's move on.
Yes,
let's move on, Sabu.
Let's just add something to what he has said. I don't think, like you rightly even in the submission, you even intervene. Like, if it is based on provisional, of course, the responsibility does not lie on the political party to actually produce the authentic or the, for lack of better words, the one who is actually, the register. Because at that time, all names are provisional. So if the parties submit provisional this and then later on it is detected, I think EC will rather collaborate with that particular party to correct that anomaly, even if it is out of the time zone stipulated by EC. Because for that one, it is clear that at that point, all of them were blind of that particular irregularities. But where it is like we have a complete register, like in the case of those who are involved in this particular decision, even they did not even go for the provisional ones. They just went for something that is non-existent and then brought it in.
So now we are cherry picking. I think we are cherry picking. I think that the law is pretty simple in this principle of coming to equity with clean hands. It's very important to me. Exactly. As a body, if you are going to prosecute, then you make sure that you, as a body, you've covered all grounds. You have not aided in any way anybody's discretions or anomalies, or then you can prosecute. But if as a body you can be found to be complicit one way or the other in some of the errors that have come up, then I don't think that prosecution is the way to go. No,
I totally agree with you. As we speak today, which party has suffered this particular scenario that we are talking about? No party has suffered it. So until such a case rises, I don't think we have. That's what I'm saying. I believe in the wisdom of the EC itself has this thing in mind.
He's shaking his head. I want us to continue before we don't have enough time. Everybody's shaking their heads.
Let me just add something. Let me just proceed.
2 seconds.
Yes. Let me just add something and you proceed. If you look at the rates by the UFP, Jataba. Yeah. Jataba is saying that the Electoral Commission has not provided.
Even as we speak today, have you had the final register? So how could it be that? How could it be that?
We are all speculating.
That is it.
Less than 6 weeks to an election. Nobody knows what register are we going to use.
After that one,
This
because
year.
I asked you many questions.
This year.
1992.
What did we have never had this in the history of this country. We have never, Ama, had this bizarre situation in our country.
That one,
6 weeks to an election, and you don't have even an idea of when the final register will be.
For that one, they don't mention it
6
as well.
weeks.
What people have suggested us
Ama,
in terms of
that speaks volumes
electoral
about the
irregularities.
very incompetence
Oh.
of this electoral commission that we have. You look, I appear before you as a candidate. I present you forms for my register to enable me file as a presidential candidate. You don't communicate back to me that I have been found to have done A, B, C, D wrong, for which I'm disqualified. And I hear it in the media. What kind of electoral commission is that?
I think that for
Who does that kind of work?
tell
You see,
me why I
yes,
have been
Ama,
disqualified.
and that's why
It's just fair.
that's the point that he's making. That he's going to court to say that even electoral commission has not even told me why I have been disqualified. Fundamental, basic. It speaks volumes about. That's why I say it speaks volumes about the incompetence of this.
Let's move on. Let's move on. Let's come to our third story.
Ama,
Honorable.
what register did they use? What register did they use to elicit those voters on the basis of which they were disqualified? When you don't even have a final register.
The point has been made. Let's come straight to this issue of land acquisition. It says government to review land acquisition committee set to work next year. Now this story is making the headlines in 3 different newspapers this morning. We have the Daily Graphic. It says government review land acquisition committee starts work next year. We have the New Weekend Crusading Guide with the same story. It says Akufo-Addo to Ghana chiefs will build resilient chieftaincy institution. But if you read the story, it speaks about this acquisition of land also. This one says, there's a Ghanaian Observer also on the front page. It says Ghana chiefs applaud Akufo-Addo. You've delivered on your promises. And all of these stories are linked to one issue, and that is the land acquisition. Let me read a bit of the story in the Daily Graphic. This story has been filed by Donald Atto Dapaten in Dodowa. It says, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has assured the Greater Accra Regional House of Chiefs that he will set up a committee to take a comprehensive look into the issue of the compulsory acquisition of lands by the government in the region. The committee, which would be established to start work next year, would look at the possibility of restoring lands to their allodial owners, he said. President Akufo-Addo gave the assurance when he addressed the Greater Accra Regional House of Chiefs in Dodowa yesterday as part of his working tour of the region. He noted that the committee would make appropriate recommendations for a decision by the government and admitted that a few weeks to holding the elections, the setting up of this committee this year may not be possible. There's a first move. It says, as a sign of commitment to the pledge, the president charged the Minister of Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, Mr. Kofi Jamesi, to commence stakeholder engagement with the House on the composition of the committee and its terms of reference. He assured the House of the government support to the chieftaincy institution so that it could be resilient. He announced that 6 new office complexes and bungalows would be provided for the 6 new regional houses of chiefs. It goes on and on and on about all the, juicy promises that Nana Akufo-Addo has for Ghana lands. Let me start with you, Sabo, on this one. Are we just campaigning as usual? I mean, we've been here all this while. We know this issue about Ghana lands. Why is it that how many days do we have to elections? We are talking about literally reviewing a whole system.
Ama, I think you agree with me that governance is about our way of life. And land tenure system has been a very big problem in this country. Acquisition of land, as we speak, is a very big challenge, especially in Greater Accra. Today, even, I'm just coming from even the north. In fact, this problem has now hit Tamale and its environment. That this time around, unlike in the past, my elder brother can just sit in his house and tell me that, Sabo, I've given you this piece of land and I don't need any documentation. And I will just claim ownership and nobody will ever come to challenge me. Today, if he tells me that thing, I want him to put things on paper, and I even go behind him to go and do further checks to make sure that indeed this land has been handed over to me. That is what is happening even in Tamale today, as we speak. So I think it is very, and you agree with me, many lives have been lost because of these problems, especially in Accra. Even today, your own legitimate land, when you are going to visit it, sometimes you want company. You are even afraid to go alone. You still need company to go with you because of these irregularities that has bedeviled the acquisition of land in this country. And most often than not, some of them, the blame, with all due respect, can also be found at the doorsteps of our chiefs. Sometimes they sell. Let me give you a simple scenario. I went to town, I purchased a parcel of land. And initially, where they were giving me, they told me that 2 plots, but there was a small plot in front. And they were telling me that somebody acquired that particular small one. They give it to somebody. But me, I should go ahead and make the payment. And then come and then start developing. When the person comes up, they will reallocate another place for that person. And I said, no, I wouldn't want, because I'm not around. I'll leave. And I wouldn't want to be in Accra and I'll receive a call. I have to come to Tamale. This is what is happening. So you can see. So what they were trying to imply is that, yes, we have given this land to this person, but we can still sell it to this person. When this person comes up later, we'll give him another land. So when I understand doesn't work, when I refuse to take that land, then now me and you have to battle for this land. And sometime before we even get to the end, lives might be lost. And the rest. So that is one. And the other thing that I have been looking at, I've always been saying this, that there should be some kind of synchronization system between lands, the commission and the chiefs. That automatically, when a transaction is going to be conducted, there should be an automated process that before you finally take whatever agreement that you have made with the chief, you have to still go to the doorstep of Lands Commission for some sort of clarification. And I believe that one will have also gone a long way to help us to do this. Even if the land was not picked, but there's a signature from Lands Commission also endorsing what the chief has already endorsed earlier on. Whoever comes later is a loser of that particular decision, because the person who also come will have also been referred to Lands Commission, and then will have been told there and then that this land belongs to this and this and this person. But it's like at the initial stage, everything is left to the traditional rulers alone to do it, and sometimes to the chief who is genuine, but his subjects around him will also go and sell the same land that the chief had already sold for somebody. And in fact, if you are only going to use the paperwork, you can never detect any problem. You see that, yes, you are the authentic owner of this land, the way and manner they normally do it, until the other person also brings his distance. Then the two of you will now be found wanting. So I think it is in the right direction, not for elections, not for votes, but for the good of this country. Today, as we speak, there are people who have their own legitimate lands, but because of dispute over years, they've not been able to develop the land. And time value of money, whatever money that they might have acquired that they wanted to use, it's losing value as time passes by. In the long run, it is the nation, not that individual, that loses this particular investment. Because of course, maybe if the person had succeeded in going ahead developing the land, about 2 or 3, 4 people would have been employed. And of course, economic gains would have also been made. And then the country as a whole would have also been propelled to a different level. So I strongly believe that not even acquisition of land for just, industrial or housing projects, but even for farming activities as we speak today, is an issue in Ghana. Our rural areas and other places too have now also resorted to this kind of double allocation of land to people. And on farms, you get people even burning people's produce, just because he feels the land belongs to him. The right thing was not done.
So we haven't addressed my question. I'm wondering about timing.
Yes,
it's a few days to election. Would this be the appropriate,
you see where, of course, because for now, what is on your mind is election.
Absolutely.
So definitely, whatever comes out today is tied to the election. But don't forget, we are running a government until It is not like a football match. Until the game is over, anything can happen in the game. I hope you're getting me. So presidency.
Penalty.
No. It can be penalty. It can be own goal even. I hope you're getting me. So governance is about caring for the people. So until you are out of the seat, it is still your mandate to make sure that whatever is supposed to be done to make sure that the people are able to have a, what do you call it, a very smooth system of governance is done, regardless of whatever people talk about. I don't think this has to do with elections.
For me. Our time is
Because if it is going to do about election, like I said, you can see that most of these things, it is rather the chiefs who will even be at a disadvantage. Because most often than not, it goes in their favor. Your manager will never come back again. The only thing you can ever get is to get another land allocated to you. You, the buyer, for your money, they forget of it. That the money coming back there, it's never. So they never lose in this particular game. It is you, the buyer, who always lose. How do I get him? So if indeed it is out for elections, he should have gone to them and be telling them this. He should have never come to me and tell me this, because I've always been at the losing end. But it is those who that it will rather affect that he's telling this. This tells you that it is something that is actually coming from his heart. That indeed, even if I should say to their face.
If I understand the story correctly, it's actually saying that government was going to relinquish its control, onto the chiefs. So the chiefs really should be happy.
I'm not getting what you are saying.
The story is talking about government giving back.
I want to read
lands
that portion.
to
The government is giving back the lands to the chiefs.
Yes, and also talked about how to regulate the acquisition of land, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. So I'm only dwelling because giving back lands to chiefs, it's not today that we've been doing that. The NDC government has done some before. Is that not it? So that one there, because lands sometimes are given to the state for certain state, development. So when those things are not done, and maybe there's no need for that project again, of course, the land is given back to the authority.
Okay.
Just like Legon land, for instance, was given purposely for Legon, the development of Legon. Okay. So if they find out that Legon doesn't need this land again, it can never be given to anybody again, but it will go back to the chiefs.
Thank you.
And that's exactly what the president has done.
Please come in. I will do.
Well, Ama, I think that I like your question. I don't know why.
My question was not answered, right?
He danced around it. Because you have the president meeting a regional house of chiefs in the eastern region, and he's giving an assurance that
sorry, please drink ultimate natural mineral water.
That he will return.
It's very good.
He will return compulsorily acquired lands to their original owners, which is the chiefs. And we are going into an election which is about 6 weeks or so away. And you ask the question, is it not politics as usual? And my big brother has agreed that this is not the first time that government is taking that decision. It has been done before. Let us pray that it is done. And let us pray that it is intended to serve the larger interest, not because somebody wants to gain some kind of favor from these chiefs. Because we all know how much our chiefs revere the ownership of land. Because these are lands that most of them these days, excuse my language, appropriate to themselves without thinking about the interests of their subjects or their communities. Because we know that people go in there for personal acquisitions. It's these same chiefs who sell the lands. And we know that the administration of the process of these lands has been a subject of contention in most of the places across the country. It's the reason for which there has been so much acrimony in our communities, because land has become a very prized asset. You understand? People fall over each other to have control over land. And that is where you see one or more people claiming ownership to most of the lands that we have, because they just want to appropriate it to themselves and benefit from the proceeds thereof. You understand? And so for me, the government should just not be interested in returning the lands to these so-called original owners. The government should ensure that they are giving the lands to the people who actually own these lands. Because when the government talks about these things, before you realize, you will see a number of claimants coming up. A number of families would come. A number of different kinds of people will all come, claiming to be original owners of the land. And there's the sad aspect of it, Ama, is that before you realize, government may have to step in, and you hear that compensation is being given to this person, compensation given to another person, all for the same land. Why should we be doing that? I think that if you look at the phenomenon, like my big brother wanted to say, if you look at the kind of the phenomenon about land ownership today, in terms of private or personal ownership, this issue of landguardism and the hooliganism surrounding the ownership of land, I'm not sure that any government would want to encourage it. You understand? But we ask ourselves, the lands that the government acquire, what even happens to those lands themselves?
Have they been managed better?
They have not been managed well, to the extent that these people representing state agencies also behave like the chiefs. You understand? All in the name of encroachment. Meanwhile, when you dig deep, you get to understand that these encroachers are working in tandem with the people who are supposed to protect the land on behalf of the government. At the end of the day, there's no difference between the land supposed to be owned and protected by government or the state and the land that belongs to the chiefs or families or whatever. And so we have this issue of land ownership being a very dangerous venture. And like he said, I know of so many people who acquire land, but for fear of losing their own lives, but for the love of living, they decide not to step foot in those lands again.
I just want to address the issue of elections quickly so that we can go. There's one story I really wanted us to look at, but I'm checking the time, we might not get to it. This issue about drama in court over the scenarios. I thought it would have been very interesting to look at that issue. So if you could
I have listened.
Address the issue about the elections, so Honorable can come in. And
I think that all along, Mr. Sinari, I have listened to Mr. Sinari a number of times.
Oh, you want to go there right away? Honorable hasn't had a chance on this land issue.
Speak on this matter, and if the facts as he has related them are true, I think that the young man is acting out of some vengeance of a sort.
Which young man?
The one who reported him to the police, that he had bought guns, distributing it to some youth, and encouraging them to engage in violence and all of that. Because he says this is a guy who was worked for him for like 8 years, and due to the bad conduct of the guy, at a point in time he had to sack the guy, and the guy has not taken lightly to the decision by Mr. Sinari, to Alaji Sinari, to sack him, and the guy has decided probably to go around to smear him when indeed the guy has no evidence or whatever. And yesterday I was speaking to a lawyer friend of mine. I am not a lawyer, but how can you accuse somebody of illegal possession of a firearm when you have not caught the person with any firearm? You didn't catch him with a firearm. Somebody has come to report that he's supplying guns to people. The people he's supplying to, you have not met them, you have not caught them with any gun, and you charge him for possession. What does possession mean? It means the fellow has
also be careful,
he does not have it. Court, and so for me, I think that it's neither here nor there. And like I said, if the facts are true as being related to by Mr. Sinari and his lawyers, I think that there's no case, and we just have to
thinking that it's more personal. It's on a more personal level. Honorable.
Is it in court?
Yes.
Under investigation.
Yeah, well, yesterday they were in court.
There's been reported.
It was discharged actually.
Daily Guide. I watched it on TV actually last night. Very interesting.
The thing is you see, when you are sitting on the truth and looking for it, we are engaged in an exercise in futility. This is pure election politics. Right, the MPP has had 4 years now. Land reform is a basic, fundamental, encompassing thing. You don't leave it to less than 2 months, 6 weeks to an election. And you know yourself to ingratiate yourself to Greater Accra Chiefs, Regional House of Chiefs, to court their support for you to get elected. Then you just go and present this cock and bull story to them.
Oh no, but it seems to be working.
It's not.
Ama, have you seen the headlines?
Ama, You see, there's something when you want a politician to hear. A chief can tell you all that you want to hear. He will tell you, when you come and say, oh, we go and sleep, you have won the election already. You go and sleep and see whether you win the election. Because even the one vote he the chief will vote for you. You are not even sure that he the chief will vote for you after telling you that. And today it's fashionable. Ama, today, if you have a goat, and your goat delivers 4 kids, I'm telling you, call the MPP, they will come and inaugurate it for you. They are desperate to hang on to power. So anything that they can do to gain some political mileage, they will do it. Okay? Because this matter, it's a matter. You go and read their manifesto of 2016. It's inside what they do about land reform.
How about the NDC? What's your position on land reforms?
I'm saying that we did what we had to do. It was clear. And I'm indicating to you that, you see, you have to look at land reform from various angles. Because you have 2 family lands. No, there are categories of land ownership, state lands, all those ones. And that's why, if you ask me, seriously, we need some real revolution in our land tenure system to be able to properly streamline it and let it work for the good people of this country. Because the land ownership itself is an obstacle to development and progress. And in Greater Accra, as you know, the issue of multiple sales of lands. Even first, you have to determine who is a chief. Because one of the problems of lands in Greater Accra is that it is in tandem with the chief. You can't even find who is the genuine chief in a particular area in Greater Accra. There is mass contest for who is actually there, to the point that it goes all the way to the government. I'm sure you are aware. Okay, so even determining that it becomes a problem, let alone the ownership. And that's why I say, Ama, when the security man himself needs security, the landlord is in trouble. Because if you cannot even determine who is the rightful chief, so that he can even become the custodian of the lands of the people, and it becomes a problem.
It's messy.
Messy. So that's why you even have this multiple chiefs, and apart from multiple chiefs, you have multiple owners of land. And at any particular point in time, you can't pinpoint that this is the owner of this land.
So for you, this is just election season.
It's election gimmick.
Election.
Clear. I mean, you can tell a rap con by its look. I'm saying that why all this time, 3 years, 10 months or 11 months, it has not engaged the active attention of God. This is the time you are going around to do this kind of thing.
We are now going to think about it, see how feasible it can be. That's what the story
says.
So we'll let him finish. Finish on the scenario, then you can end us on that. Or you want
somebody goes and makes allegations. They have not been verified. You've not even had an opportunity to engage the person against whom those allegations are made. And you are in a hurry to find ways to prosecute the person. What are we doing?
Because it's election season, Honorable.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Because you are getting at it because your opponent.
It's a very serious issue.
Which one?
Any issue to do with guns around this time, for me, is a serious issue.
Ama,
Honorable.
guns.
Yes.
We have heard. Did you hear that guns were seized at the port in large quantities? Have you today? Do you know where the guns are? Ama. Have you followed up to find out where the guns have ended? Have there not been allegations that some people are distributing guns to their party supporters? Has it been investigated? But this one, we are in a hurry to go and investigate it. Have you seen the double standards? Have you seen the political chicanery involved in acts like this? You see, that's why I said that, look, Ama, if you can find feathers to pluck from a tortoise, what will you do when you get a fowl? If they can do this one, if they get somebody, and you can find that in the case of the national chairman of our party, the speed with which they just got some tape and doctored the whole thing and ran to go and prosecute. You can see. Meanwhile, people have done worse. MPP members, worse. There were people who were not police people. They were carrying AK-47s in police uniform, using police vehicles. This one, I'm not the one saying it. This was contained in the report of the commission on the IOS West Wuogon Valles. And this commission was set up by me, a person that His Excellency President Akufo-Addo himself. He set up the committee. The initial committee ally. Was it me or NDC? And they made the recommendation. What happened to the recommendations? So the guns and other, this is die in the possession of all those people. Somebody said he was a mobile phone seller. They traded him for 3 weeks, and now he's holding AK-47.
National security.
So you can see all those people in uniform. Are they not a danger to us? These are the people we are going to send to police stations to come there and attempt to intimidate Ghanaians. Kai, wallahi, ta'ala. Inshallah, it will never work.
It will never
bring those people unless they to come and intimidate people.
It will never work. Let's Sabo, a few seconds and then we are out of here. I'll read a few messages and we are out.
Sometimes I feel very bad when the likes of my elder brother will come and sit here and say that guns were seized somewhere and up to date they don't know the whereabouts of those guns and they don't do anything about it. Then I wonder why they represent us in parliament. I wonder. Frankly speaking, I wonder. Because I don't think me, Adam Sabo Abdraman, seeing something like that and knowing that it is wrong and just sit down quietly. I will never. Because it's about my life. It's about the life of the people that I represent. What have you done about it? Having said that, I have a scenario. The story, of course, I've gone through it. I don't know anything about it. But scenario in person, I will never trust scenario.
Oh.
Yes, based on his historical distance. Yes. Scenario, the same scenario in 1996. When there was this dispute of great alliance between your dad and then Sheikh ICQ, I was also central this thing, and then in the quest to explain the popularity of ICQ as suppose your dad, scenario misquoted the then may still rest in peace General Secretary of our party, Ejenim Boate. When Ejenim Boate said that Mr. Kwesi Pratt is a media person. And it is like it's the elite who seem to know Mr. Kwesi Pratt very well. But ICQ is a local type who normally move around the people. So ICQ is known by the local people. This man came out and twisted the whole story that Ejenim Boate said that the people of Alado do not know how to read and write. And for that matter, they don't know Mr. Kwesi Pratt. This man, this same man stood on platform, swore, and in Islam, in fact, if you understand the meaning of swearing, that if Nana should ever win this election, he will kill himself. This man is still living.
He said he will kill himself.
Please. Please, why is it that any time I'm talking, you're uncomfortable? Oh, but what you said was substantiated. Oh, no, but forget it. In fact, they said there's no time. Don't let me hold you by the legs. Oh, please. He stood on platform, on a campaign platform, and swore that if Nana should ever win this election, his scenario will kill himself and will resign from the NDC party. He's still a card-bearing member of the NDC. He's still alive.
So this one is making lots of
no, yes, I'm telling you this. Listen, that is why this man, I will never trust him. But nonetheless, with regards to the guns issues and the rest, I think we should be very serious. And I'm happy you were saying that this is about election. It's around the election. I think we shouldn't downplay any rumor about somebody possessing guns somewhere.
Shouldn't we do the same thing on the other side?
No, you're not getting me. Even if it is MPP parliamentary candidate or MPP presidential distance, and you hear of that, I think as a nation we should all rise up and make sure that those guns are retrieved. And the person, whoever is involved, please. Why is it that? No, I think you need to agree. When he's talking, I will never utter a word. But anytime I'm making a submission, you see, if you can do, you are the one speaking the truth. Of course, because I always speak. No, let me come. I'm telling you that if indeed you know that you are speaking the truth, I don't think you have any problem. Of course, he knows it. But the Gomus have a proverb that we can be in this system. Yes. So Ama, frankly speaking, it's good that the thing was taken to court, and then the court has taken a decision. And I will not stand here and say that we should condemn whoever reported. Maybe you also heard something that he felt that was the issue. But nonetheless, we should be very careful anytime we are going to report such cases. We should go further to make sure that indeed we know what we are talking about. But don't be surprised. Okay. The kind of arms that individuals and registered arms that are in possession, in circulation in this country.
As a people,
yes, and I believe the security services are up to the task. whoever should make her, we'll see where he will land.
Okay, let me read a few of the messages that have come in this morning. It says, good morning from African TV. Alhaji and Sabu are making the room warm. His name is Mohammed Ali Adamawu. No, Ali in Adamawa State in Nigeria. Thank you so much for watching us all the way in Nigeria. We appreciate you this morning. This one says, from Mystic inside in Sawam, the modus operandi of inept, corrupt. Okay. Repeat, lies. Sure. Okay. Your name is Mystic inside in Sawam. Thank you for your message. It's rather long. We don't have a time for all of it. I'm sorry. This one says, good morning. Ama, please tell Sabo that we have a Ghanaian. Okay, sure. I just want your name. Your name is James. You didn't tell us where you sent the message from. This one says, good morning, Pan African TV. Please ask Honorable ABA Fuseni, where at all is he getting his proverbs from? I like him. Allah bless him more. His name is Zach in Salaga. This one says, good morning, Ama. I am pure NDC. You have issues with the Sagneregu district. I'll show you to Honorable before the show ends. This one says, good morning, cherished panelists. I sometimes wonder if Ghana would ever get better after 60 years of independence with all the numerous natural resources that we never begged God for. We are still making time in the delusion that we are moving forward. Ghana is really a failed state, and I'm surprised no one is seeing it. It will take a very difficult effort to get things better in Ghana and not grammar. Oh, don't be so down. I mean, you know, it's not that bad. It's really not that bad. This one says, good morning. Wow, you sent this message like 6 times. Okay, thank you. You didn't add your name. Thank you. This one says, good morning, Ama. As for the Lands Commission, the least you talk about them, the better. There's a huge backlog of applications for land title certificates, and little is done to reduce the backlog. His name is Jacob in Amasaman. This one says, Ama, in fact, the MPP man will mistakenly vote for JDM. And his one vote will make us win 2020 election. He told me that's a funny one. This one says, good morning, Ama, and to your panel. Ekufuado doesn't do anything for nothing. Everything he does is for power. And that is why they are closing a major road and building a bypass on it instead of building roads in Tamale. His name is Moses. Good morning, Ama. Your panel. Okay, sure. Tamale. Moses again. Good morning. Why are your panelists not wearing their masks? And some of them are coughing. Greetings to the Provost and Honorable ABA Fuseni. That's a valid point. Right? It's a valid point for him to make. Right. Oh, Honorable is wearing his mask. Please, Madam Host, I am sad of the action of the NPP man. He always runs away from the question you always put to him. Every fight, the loser always run. Incompetence, okay, sure. But you didn't tell us your name. He says you didn't answer my questions, Sabo. This one says, good morning. Thank you for good work doing. Let's change. Ghanaians are living in fear. Okay, you have issues with the EC boss. Your name is Justice Asemenu in Akachi South in the Volta region. This one says, greetings to you, Alhaji ABA Fuseni. His name is Seidu Usman from Guinea Conakry. He says the networks have been down, but he will call you. This one says, I don't understand why anytime the EC is being accused, you will see MPP representatives defending them. What is happening? Is the EC really independent? You didn't add your name. This one says, why wouldn't the EC be causing all this mess when it's alleged that both the chairperson and the deputy are all Cadbury members of his name is Asanko in Santa Maria? Please don't let me read allegations, I beg you. This one says, please, my name is Jennifer from Tamale, Sagnarugu district. I'm not happy with the behavior of my northern brothers. During the show, they were arguing, leaving the presenter to look at them. Thank you. Your name is Jennifer from Tamale. Okay, Jennifer, they've heard you. This one says, I'm Godwin. Ama, do you know the fact still stands? I don't think any member of the NPP will go to heaven. Okay. Okay. This one says, good morning, Pan African TV. His name is Prince Klomega from Takrade. He says, I like Mr. Sabo.
There are some good people.
I'm proud of him. Oh, he says, I'm proud of him every day, but today he has disgraced me. This one says, it is not the duty of the EC to investigate and arrest criminals, but rather the CID. So what the EC is doing is legal. His name is Michael in Techiman, Bono East Capital. This one says, good morning, Pan African TV. My name is Abdallah. Tell Sabo to go back and learn, and he should stop. Okay, I'll tell him all that. This one says, AU Farouk, Tamale North. Hi, AU Farouk. Good morning. Did I hear GHS? Oh, did I hear Ghana is likely to experience another COVID-19 case? No wonder. COVID-19 funds are being shared to party sympathizers by the government rather than buying apparatus for the masses. This is what we would be experiencing. Right. Good morning, Ama. Did I hear ABF say he's 18 years?
Huh? Did I say?
No, he was making a reference to the fact that you are 18, you should be able to be allowed to vote. He didn't say he. Why would you even believe? Okay, so how about voting for a government that will ensure timely and adequate student loan payments are made to beneficiaries? The NDC and John Mahama will make this possible. It's a social contract with tertiary students. His name is Mustafa in Lower Manya Kobo. It is a pity the NDC always fights for foreigners into our decisions. Sure. They lose touch with Ghanaians. His name is Fawuz Ibrahim in Kotobabi. This one says the responsibility. The question is, what does a party agent do? The responsibility of the party agent also includes observations. His name is Kofi D in Kasua. This one says, comrades, okay, you want to tell us something about a hotel somewhere. Thank you for the information. This one says, wow, there's a lot. I just want your name. What's your name? You didn't tell us your name. Sorry. I just want to read the name so we are out of here quickly. Musa Abattoir in Kumasi. When you have a government that has lost touch with the reality, don't accept different claims than we are seeing today. Fact is that GM has done for far better than Ekufuado in respect of educational sector. Great. Sure. All of that. Right. Unfortunately, the messages are lost. There's no time. God bless ABF Husseini. God bless an African TV. I'm seeing all of that. Thank you. We will read all of them before we leave. There's a little announcement though. The PNC is launching its manifesto and its campaign on Monday. And so, we wish you all the best.
Where is it taking place?
Exactly.
The Xylophone Village, East Legon.
In Xylophone Village in East Legon. So you are inviting
Xylophone Media Village.
Xylophone Media Village in East Legon. So the invitation is to everybody watching us to
Official
come.
invitation would come.
Official invitation will come, but this is a general invitation to the public.
Yes.
If it's Monday,
For Monday, yes. No. The one for us, we will take the official, but for the general public, they should all come to East Legon on Monday for the official launch of the manifesto and campaign of the PNC. Wish you all the best. Well, thank you so much. Audu Ishak, National Communications Secretary of the PNC. Adam Sabo Abdul Rahman, former Greater Accra Regional Secretary of the NPP and member of its National Communication Team. Thank you so much, the Honorable ABF Husseini, MP for Honorable. The way you say it, I like it. Saram Narigu constituency. Thank you so much for giving us your Friday morning. We really appreciate it. Well, thank you for watching. Thank you for sending in your views and your comments. And of course, thank you to the technical team here and the producers for making this show what it is. We'll see you on Monday. Hopefully, by Monday, your regular host, Kwame Omusudan, so the man KOD himself, will be back. He's in the northern region. He's in Nalegu Gambaga. So if you see him, say to him, say to you. I'll see you on Monday. Bye.